Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Extraordinary Technology Conference 2017. Today it is my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Sandra Rose Michael. Sandra Rose Michael has spoken here before, and she's presented some pretty amazing information. She has served around the world as a holistic medicine practitioner for many, many decades. She's lectured at many prestigious institutions and many prestigious events. She was actually knighted as a Dame Commander of the Order of St. John of the Orthodox Knights Hospitalier. And she's going to presenting today on DNA, repairing the DNA and lengthening of the telomeres. Please welcome Dr. Sandra Rose Michael.
Okay. Okay. So, put that one down. And I start everything, does this sound okay? Okay. I start everything everywhere by saying aloha. Everybody take a real deep breath. I'm going to teach you how aloha is a scalar wave. Okay. Everybody ready? You can take this exercise home with you. You want to be that standing columnar wave of energy. And the spinal column is literally that standing columnar wave, like a pillar of light. Okay, so deep breath. You breathe. What if you could breathe in all the power, all the energy you could possibly want or need to do, anything and everything you could possibly want or need to do to fulfill your greatest life right now. And aloha is the secret of the kahunas, because it means oneness with the breath and the power of the perfection of the love of all life. So breathing light, breathing love to every cell, every part of yourself. Breathe it all into your heart. Everybody got it? I didn't hear it. Aloha. Breathing all the power, all the light of love. It's overwhelming love that flows out to touch the hearts of all beings to feel more love now. Aloha, oneness with that breath and the love of all life. And we're here to share in that spirit of aloha. So I want to acknowledge Tesla Tech first. I don't know how many of you know what all has gone into them pulling off this conference. So we want to thank Steve Ellswick, Terry Wolf, Mitch Feinstein. Thank the whole crew for this happening and being able to share with you today, because there's a lot that's gone on, and we want to acknowledge that and support that every which way we can. Everything we sell or share from this conference will go to support also Tesla Tech. So thanks for being here and thanks for supporting them. I'm going to be talking about the bioeffects of photonic fusion, scalar technology, and regenerative fields. That was the topic of my talk at the Scalar Wave Experts Conference with Professor Constantine Mile. We also spoke at the Cold Fusion Colloquium at MIT, talking about what actually occurs in the cells as cold fusion, so I've integrated some of that information. And I like to talk about chi. The breath is also called chi or ki, and I like to talk about that spark of life, that light force, that life force. And we received the Chi Technology of the Year award from the Chinese Qigong Grandmasters because they found that our technology, for the first time in the history of the world, they gave an award for technology. It's the first technology they ever found that was regenerating the source chi. We talk about source energy, the source chi, the one chi. And so I'm very proud of that. This has been recognized also as a future of medicine, Royal Society of Medicine, also presented at the NIH as the future of medicine by White House Presidential Advisor Dr. F.E. Chow and others. And we have NIH studies in process that we'll mention as well. Bioscalar benefits, I'm going to talk some about the benefits and then go into some of the research and different pieces. Okay, detoxification, DNA and nerve regeneration, nerve cell regeneration specifically. Neutralization of EMF, ELF, and radiation. Both your non-ionizing and ionizing radiation are both detrimental. We'll talk about that. healthy life-enhancing resonance fields that are superconductive. Superconductive cellular communication, superconductivity of the DNA, superconductivity of water, total cell hydration. Most of aging is dehydration. We want to look like Dr. Bob at 86, right? Or you want to visualize how you want your body or your partner's body to be. How do you want to be at 86? This is him at 86, use our technology. Balancing pH and blood sugar, antidepressant effects, which goes back to some of Glenn Ryan's research too. Super learning, ADHD, autism, Alzheimer's, increased mental or brain, enhanced brain activity, and induced meditational state. The actual research that I don't have put into this particular file, the actual research is that you could go to a deeper meditational state than a Tibetan monk in approximately 7 minutes in our BioScalar photonic fusion technology. So one thing is scalar, and we talk about true bioscalar energy, and I come from a background. People ask, where did it start? Well, my parents were both top secret government scientists. They met in engineering physics at Ohio State. My mother was fissioning plutonium as a nuclear physicist the whole time she was pregnant with me. She was working on the bomb, and instead she got me. But, oops. My parents met at Ohio State, they married. I was conceived at Niagara Falls, where Tesla was doing his power generation. I don't know what happened. My dad, aerospace engineer, worked on Mach 3 in the early 50s. Mach 3, and he was a top secret government aerospace, electrical, mechanical engineer. So I grew up playing with Geiger counters and gyroscopes, thinking that's how all kids played. Wasn't that everybody's toys? And on the farm, healing all the animals, and I came in with my memories and talking about the mad Atlantean scientists. From the time I could talk, I was talking about the mad Atlantean scientists and the abuse of power. And let's get it right. Let's get it right this time, okay? In the healing, because I came in with this whole idea of healing the planet and how do we heal the world. And so my dad had me doing all Tesla experiments growing up. I built my own transducers, receivers, antennas, Tesla coils, rockets in the backyard of the farm, and my own ham radios and all this stuff. I thought that was totally normal. So anyway, so that gives some of my background, and I started in '71 with chiropractic, nutrition, reflexology, but I see the body as a combination between an engineer. I'm recognized as one of the top healers on the planet, but there's only so many people we could personally teach, touch, or train. So it was, how do we take that energy, when you see the body as an electrical circuitry and as physics and biophysics and fusion, and you see life that way. And I'd heal the animals on the farm, watching how the energy went through, and what creates hyper health, what creates super healing. So I brought that along, and when I built my first scalar healing light chamber in 1978 in my spa. It was only one person at a time, unfortunately, but I was seeing reversals of leukemia, lupus, all kinds of things. And like I said, 1978, it was probably also, I did all kinds of research and experiments before building it, and used NASA equipment and power management equipment, because I was running a power management company besides running spas. But it was only one person at a time. So we had to go back to the drawing board, obviously. But it was probably the world's first tanning booth, because you stepped into it and stood in the light and the scalar and all that. So when we built our first scalar healing light chamber with our technology. We started on this back in the early 90s, and by the late 97, we set up our first scalar healing light chamber in Golden, Colorado. So we had the Tesla scientists were the first people, of course, that I would allow in to measure the fields. And they, Michael Riversong, maybe some of you know him, but he came with, he and others came with boxes, chests of meters and things measuring all the fields. And they initially found that we were, and that's some of the premise here, we could find that we were creating a field engine generation of scalar and other fields that generating multiple bioactive energy fields. Because again, I was looking at how do we heal the world. So scalar is an important piece, but there's a lot more going on. Including, and they found when they measured a predominance of the Schumann resonance, the 7.83 CPU, that's your grounding. That's the first part of healing, right? You're grounding. And there's earthing, it's called. You have to be grounded. A predominance of that, and also a predominance of 13.8, like in the virgin rainforest. And I actually wrote and developed this from Hawaii, from the rainforest. So it has that rainforest, hyper-healthy, energetic environment where everything can heal and rejuvenate. And, including that nonlinear, non-Hertzian, everybody knows about fifth dimensional scalar fields or scalar standing columnar wave, 0 point, to promote regeneration. So hyper-healthy energy. So this is what a 4-unit system, which is a smallest system, would look like. See, it's 4. These are precisely laser aligned. Precisely to within less than 100th of an inch tolerance. This is just one chair in the middle. Usually we like to have many, many chairs, but this gives an idea of some of our initial installations. And they're precisely aligned to create that phase conjugate wave pairs, that coming together to create that torsion field, phase conjugate wave pairs, and that release of charge, which then gives the body the charge so it can discharge heavy metals and things like that. So we'll go through some of the research. We'll talk about some of the benefits. The neutralization, first off, let's neutralize all the detrimental field effects because we're being bombarded 24/7 by the EMF, ELF, radiation, microwave. And you can't see or feel or taste radiation. But the radiation is really at criticality on the planet right now. I have lectured for the UN on the radiation issues, and this is our big project, and I'll mention more about that. Because radiation, whether it's the non-ionizing radiation or the ionizing radiation, literally unzips the DNA, takes it out of that standing columnar wave that belongs in that divine matrix of the DNA, the divine blueprint, as somebody was talking about, unzips the DNA. And we want to put everything back and maintain the integrity of the DNA. And the actual research with that, has been done. So, and discharge of heavy metals. We talked about that release of charge. Well, all of the radioactive isotopes also are heavy metals. And as long as the body can discharge all the heavy metals, that's like chelation, then you're no longer affected. Life-enhancing, intentional, dense, intentional informational fields, resonant fields that are superconductive, coherent, cohesive, biocompatible, that move at superluminal velocity. That's one of the aspects of scalar. Scalar moves at 1.4 times the speed of light, approximately. And that also then works with your cell signaling, all the communication through the body. And what I like to talk about with the technology is dynamic homeostasis, where there is continual reorganization. It's cumulative and continual reorganization to higher levels of function. So every time that you work with the fields, it gives the body more energy to reorganize into a higher level of life potential, peak performance, etc. So higher levels of function. This is true functional medicine. Here's examples of different bioscalar environments, and it was at Sundance Film Festival. That's Isai Morales. And that one on the bottom you can't see very well, but the scalar units are around the top of the room there. So just, and we have 4-unit systems, 8 units, 16 units. I just talked to somebody today who had visited Dr. Joe McCready in Tucson, who has 40 units in his home. You cannot have too much healthy energy. Can never look too good, feel too good. He said, there isn't anybody who comes in that doesn't feel better. He goes, I don't have a single gray hair. And he said, we could tell lots of stories. So he's got 40 units in Tucson. Somebody was talking about that. He's got a 24 unit in one space, and 8 around a bed, and 8 around his office. So 24 units is particularly useful and special because it's the geometry of the DNA. In the meantime, I had all the spook scientists showing up initially in the early 90s, well, late 90s, I should say. Late 90s, like I said, it was initially 6-unit system, hexagonal, Star of David, was set up in Golden, Colorado. And, of course, that was we started having the helicopters and all the things flying over, but eventually NASA showed up because they found that it was the signature of a nuclear sub. Everybody, it's called nuclear fusion, right? It's a signature of a nuclear sub on land, and from the satellites, it actually looked like the signature of a nuclear sub on land because it's an actual cold fusion technology. Okay, so very interesting things. I just recently met one of the gentlemen who was in that office under naval intelligence. But he goes, "That was you?" He goes, "I was there. I had to sign off on everything." And he told me more about what he knew about it. Anyway, but that's classified. But for a while, I would go down to NASA, and also NORAD was there, and eventually became friends because they showed up trying to figure out what we were doing. All I want to do is heal the world. I don't know. So one of the people that was brought in, another top spook scientist, John Orava, president of Biophysics Research Foundation, but at one point he was head of Phantom Works, Black Hole, Skunk Works, Pentagon, DoD, NASA, pattern energy consultant, and one of the top brain researchers in the world. So he was brought, and he came with a specialized, like $100,000 oscilloscope. And just in the 4 units, just the basic little 4-unit system, he met me there. And what was unique was, instead of all these physicists coming and measuring and not being recorded, somebody actually had a video camera and recorded him talking about what he was seeing and what it meant with the oscilloscope. And it was transcribed, and some of what was said was, transmutation of 60-cycle and other existing all detrimental energy fields were put in coherence. He said there was a collision of photons, like CERN or Fermi Labs, that we were colliding photons, but beyond that it was photonic fusion. So he validated. And production of new forms of beneficial energy. One of the things when they came and tested our technology, they found that there was a total nullification of all EMF, ELF, radiation, and later we found microwaves. We'll talk about that. But they also said that there's the closest fields to what fields have been measured off a Tesla coil, because I'm using technology like a Mobius, like a Tesla coil, in one aspect. But he said it was sweeping an entire spectrum. And he said it looks like magic to most scientists, or it would look like unexplainable magic. But he said it's truly amazing physics at a very high level of application. Okay, so that was recorded and went on YouTube. Next thing I know, I got a call from John going, "Oh, I just got a call from the head of the Pentagon about you." How many of you want to get that call? Think about that one. Oh, great. They wanted to know, first thing they asked him is, what the heck? He was one of their top hyper genius physicists in the world, right? He was amazing to work with. What the heck are you doing on YouTube? That was the first thing they asked him. But then is it real? Does it work? He says, look, it's real, it works, and if you have any intelligence over there at the Pentagon, you're going to put all your guys behind this. Well, we have since presented for the Pentagon, and we're working a lot with the military. So let's talk about that null zone first with the scalar waves, and I like to talk about the phase conjugate wave pairs and the coming together and release of charge, but there's a null zone effect that occurs, an EM null zone, or an EM zero field as it's called here, and we've done this with audio files and stuff, etc. But one of the independent testings that was done was California Edison Electric Company came and did field surveys of one of our installations, and they brought all the latest, greatest high-end equipment to test. And that I wasn't there for this testing, but there was a full report on it, the field surveys, and there was more write-ups. And they found a total absence of all harmful fields, including 60-cycle EMF, ELF, radiation, and microwaves. Although it's designed to make anything and everything work better, they're carrier waves, right? And basically, and that was with a microwave tower in sight, they found there was zero microwave energy. So I recently had a Los Alamos physicist show up at one of my talks. He had told everybody it was total BS, that it was impossible, that I was just, there's no way. And so I had over 100 people at a launch, and he wasn't introduced to me, but he's in the front row, right front and center, like this. And I'd asked everybody to hold their questions till the end of my presentation. Well, I'm on the third slide, and he's going, okay, what can we do for you? He goes, I have to tell you who I am and why I'm here. I said, okay. He says, I'm a top scalar physicist with Los Alamos. And then he turned to everybody, he goes, and this is the real deal. And so he was in an 8-unit system there, and we had a microwave tower, a cell phone tower in the parking lot. So he's in, he's out, he sees where it's transmitting, he sees how it's being collapsed, the fields are being collapsed. He's in, he's out, he has people following him, he had a contingency of people, and they're following him. And he goes, it's impossible, but it's really doing it. But it's impossible, but it's really doing it. This is the real deal. And after that, he came to our place, and by then he could explain it all very, very well, exactly how it was working. So microwaves, radio waves, but radiation is the big deal. So, and they also went to the base of the power transformer 5.5 acres away, because the way this works, we found that it creates a null zone effect, and this is what he was referring to, a nullification or neutralization of detrimental field effects, because it's creating coherence. Okay, and we find that goes out about 2.2 miles, and we have lots of research on that. Anyway, they went to the base of the transformer, is 0.0. We want to transform the power grid on this planet. Part of when I was asked to do this project, when I was requested to do this project, is we need to override that, from that love of power, we need to override it with the power of love, the higher power. You override it with a higher power. So this is all about the power of love and oneness with those infinite waves of love. And that's what I'm about. So your cell phone gets recharged. Now what if you could recharge every cell of your body simultaneously? And there's a lot of similarity. This is what's occurring. literally, we believe, at the core of the DNA. But this is happening within the body. This was done in $1 million Kirlian lab, aerospace engineer testing. We tested 1,000 things before and after products. But anyway, all life is energy. Your cells, neurons, digestion, muscle activity, neurosynapses, every nerve, the neurotransmitters, everything's firing. Every nerve impulse is electrical current. We're meant to be functioning at 70 to 90 millivoltage when healthy. We're meant to be charged up. All life is energy. You optimize that energy, you optimize your health. Charge your body with the right energies, the frequencies, and you prevent disease. This is quotes from John Barron, and he wrote about our technology. I was recognized as one of the miracle doctors, which is how I was actually known. It's a great book, and chapter 17 in the book is It's All About Energy, is John Barron's research with our technology. So basically, I started in 71, I tested above 99th percentile on ACT and SAT. I was top of my state in Latin, English, and math. Everything was a science project. Everything was a science project. And growing up. And I started with reflexology, nutrition, chiropractic. I actually grew up studying nutrition with my mother. And had my own organic gardens, did all that. And I started with chiropractic. The power that made the body heals the body. Now, what we want to do is, how do you plug back into that cosmic light socket? Universal unlimited power on. And this is wireless transmission, right? So it's very much like charging your cell phone. You have your body in the system, and it's charging every cell wirelessly. So health, and I did a lot of work with Panos Pappas, who I initially met because from the Papimi machine that he invented, the water would only hold the charge 1 to maybe 3 days tops. And so they found and tested with our technology that the charge was being held in the water indefinitely, because Scalar's an infinity wave. It lasts a long time. And again, as Glenn talking about water, and this was some of the initial testing with Panos Pappas. And some of his, he proved that what occurs is cold fusion in the cells. But he talked about disease and aging occur as the cellular energy decreases. Cancer cannot exist in the body till the millivoltage of the body is below 20. Cancer cannot exist in a high energy system. The power that made the body heals the body. When the body has the right energy, you get super healthy and there's no more dis-ease. As we grow older or experience stress, stress is what's behind any and all dis-ease and aging. Stress and the whole inflammatory response, inflammation. So inflammation is what's behind all dis-ease, aging. That stress and the continual stress, whether it's from being bombarded 24/7 with EMF, ELF radiation, the body is reacting, gets stuck in reactive mode versus being able to respond from your 0 point or that place of center and respond appropriately to all the stressors, because you have all the energy in total coherence to handle everything. And literally, as we radiate light, as you see here, as we radiate light, like again, I like to talk about, I believe it's activating the light at the core of the DNA, the stuff from the stars. We are stardust, we are golden, we are that light, we are literally bodies of light. So as we activate that light, as we are living light, coherent, cohesive, unified fields of light, bodies of light, as we radiate light, we are no longer at effect of anything outside of that light. That's pure science. As we radiate light, we're no longer at effect of anything that is not of that light. So we want to go from radiation to radiance, being radiant beings, no longer at effect. So this is just holding a charged product such as an EE medallion, or we'll be talking later about calibrate and clarity, which is hypercharged. And this is Kirlian, so you have the photonic emissions, and you see this is just the effect. Extraordinarily bioactive energy fields. And I talked about Fritz Albert Popp, we're beings of light. The prime function of the DNA, according to Fritz, is the storage of photons, 1,000 per DNA molecule, prime function of the DNA. So the DNA is biophotonic. People ask, do we need the screens on? I designed the technology. If you look, we have a small sample of it set up in agave room here. It looks like 12 strands, actually designed to be 12 strands of DNA. And if you stop it on a black background, it looks precisely like it came out of the Genome Project. That's very, very intentional. It looks like 12 strands of DNA. And, the DNA is biophotonic. And that's those quantums of light. Disease is caused by a loss of photons. Carcinogens scramble the light. This is Star Trek medicine, right? Do we have any Trekkies out there? Trekkers, whatever. Okay. Anyway, carcinogens scramble the light. It's a disturbance in the force, right? Yeah, that unzipping of the DNA and the scrambling of the light. Healing is accomplished by photo repair and fusion, whole light fusion, activation of that light within the DNA. And then the hydrogen atoms, activating that light within the DNA, we talked about what occurs in the cells is actually cold fusion. What we're actually doing is cold nuclear fusion. So there's an effect called hydrobifurcation, which allows the release of the active hydrogen atoms and the active oxygen atoms. Right? So then you've got your hydrogen, you've got the standing column wave relating to the DNA spiral, that original matrix, that blueprint, and it's trying to repair the release of the active hydrogen atoms allows the repair of the hydrogen bonds in the DNA. When NASA showed up, we put a system down in Houston, and there was the top geneticist at Baylor University at the time was studying the effects of our technology on the DNA. And she found, this was late 90s to year 99, 2000, she's doing the research, and she found that our technology was allowing the repair of all the breaks in the DNA and lengthening telomeres. Now, is that true age reversal? We are meant to be, I like to call it immortality medicine, but we are infinite eternal beings, really. So, the light. The bioeffects of photonic fusion scalar technology increases cellular energy. That's increasing the transmembrane potential, increasing the millivoltage of the cells, literally, increasing that transmembrane potential, and increasing the cellular absorption rates. This is part of what Glenn Ryan was talking about, the cellular detoxification, because the first thing the body wants to do when it has more energy is it wants to clean house. It's going to be discharging. Like I said, you have that release of charge and allows the body to discharge the heavy metals, the PCBs, the chemtrails, it's implosion, so it's imploding some of those biofilms and things that you see in limes and things like that. We've seen anything and everything heal. The body wants to heal, wants to function perfectly. And it's a matter of giving it the right energy and the information to do that and build the energy reserves. So we had one doctor wanted to test and see whether it was really increasing the millivoltage in the cells or not. This is the before. This is testing done with accugraph equipment. This is the before, this is the after. And he did, there was a few sessions. And he was working with paralysis and cancer and different things. It was Dr. Mike Cook, Penn Pain Clinic. This was a pain clinic. And mitigation of pain was one of the side effects, obviously. Everyone had subjective complaint improvements. First thing, when you reduce inflammation, chronic acute inflammation is what's behind all pain. So, and it raises the cellular energy, which he proved in his 130 cases. This was done in North Carolina. And so acugraph analysis, we had, I forgot to get his name on here, Professor Tom Loeb, professor of medicine, world-renowned surgeon, and he opened a system in Beverly Hills, and he read that study by Dr. Cook. He got his own acugraph, he got his own 8-unit EE system, and this is before and after 1 hour. Over here, the red is inflammation. This is too much energy. The violet, and this is in the meridians. So you have, the lung meridians and the intestinal meridians, things like that, the kidney. This is the before, and this is after 1 hour of somebody just taking a power nap, relaxing in an EE system. You close your eyes like charging a cell phone. The more you relax, the more the body can use the energy, like your cell phone. If you're still talking on it, the body's externalizing. If your eyes are open, 80% of the energy is being externalized. You want to go in the room, and we have it here, I'm telling you, so you can go in the room, close your eyes, relax, go as deep as you can. What they found is you can go to a deeper meditational state than a Tibetan monk in 7 minutes, should you choose to go there. So you want to go to the deep delta and theta brain states, which is where everything can repair and regenerate. And then we can talk about gamma states and all kinds of things. It's a lot of fun. But this is exciting because you could only see this result in an hour if you've had your ideal optimal acupuncture treatment on every meridian simultaneously. Right? And so it's cohesive, coherent, unified fields. It's laser light. It's like laser light acupuncture through the whole being. So, very exciting research. Is that cool? Okay, scalar waves. Everybody knows a lot about scalar waves, so I'm not going to have to spend much time here. Replicant wave pairs, phase conjugate wave pairs, different than Hertzian, nonlinear, non-Hertzian, fifth dimensional, standing columnar waves. It looks like an infinitely projected Mobius pattern on an axis. Your transverse waves you have on the left, and I did present with Professor Konstantin Meil, and I like his representation on the right because this is actually a rotation on an axis, but you can see how that could interface with the DNA. And it looks like an infinitely projected Mobius pattern. So you've got your scalar wave vortex, also known as torsion field, toroids, toroidal energy, 0-point standing waves. Okay, the scalar vortex, the secret of the universe. Everybody saw Thrive, right? And it's called the breath of the universe. Okay, so you've got the golden spiral, golden mean. That was, besides doing Mobius strips, my second most exciting day in school was learning all about the golden mean, that spiral of life, the Fibonacci sequences. So that's incorporated intentionally, very intentionally, into our technology because that works with the cellular replication patterns specifically, and the patterns through all of life. So it's all through. But also your chakras. The chakras are all scalar vortexes. Bob Dratch, one of the government scientists, found initially, he was doing testing with Slim Sperling, so people know some of these names here, and he found that our technology was trying to align and balance all the chakras in the first 60 seconds of exposure. But anyway, we did real-time aura imaging. This was done by Professor Tom Loeb. This is before and after 1 hour. So you see how the body is trying to realign. When you give the body the energy, it reorganizes. And when you have an ideal, optimal, precise scalar field or scalar vortex, the body relates to it. Through the whole entire body, you have these fields. And so the body relates to it and reorganizes along those principles. So, and the reason we use the medallions, we found that this was a perfect carrier, the donut, the toroid, shape. It's, and because Scalar will implant its signature and embed. It's field-like, not wave-like, and can regenerate and repair itself indefinitely. These are self-healing, self-repairing, self-perpetuating fields. Everybody always wants to know, how long does the charge last? Well, the things have been tested 5 years later consistently, 100% of the time. We've tested thousands of things before and after, and 100% of the time it's as great a charge or greater. Okay. Capable of imprinting within the DNA. Oh, and it says, may repair the DNA, lengthen telomeres. We talked about that research. And the cellular replication, we actually want to talk more about some of the results that we see. You would only see if it's activating and mobilizing the body's stem cells. And this is what happens with product. Which do you think is going to work better? You don't get more aliveness by putting in more dead stuff. Right? So you want to enhance and increase your energy. Okay, so Dr. Glenn Ryan did lab tests with the EE medallion, which we also call the Resonate, which is available through Clarity, a new company we're working with. So human DNA treated with just the medallion. And he found a significant increase, potent increase, I think 27%, something like that, increased electrical conductivity of the DNA. And it's how it responded. That's why when people put these on, they feel it right away. Because immediately the DNA goes at 1.4 times the speed of light, and that's traveling through the body and bringing the signals. It's creating coherence. That means it's clearing the impedance, right? It's clearing the circuit jams. And it's giving the body the energy and the information to reorganize to a higher level of function. And no matter what we're exposed to, you want to stay strong, no matter what. I'm going to talk about that next. Actually, we'll go to that. Advanced radiation remediation proposal, because what we're dealing with is a constant bombardment of the DNA. We want to stay strong. You want your DNA to stay in integrity and stay strong no matter what we're exposed to. We need to save the human genome. We're at criticality on the planet. We've been fooked by Fukushima. When you fly right now, you get the equivalent of about a chest x-ray every 9 minutes or so. It's more than 10 times. It's a whole lecture that we could talk about, and we'll be here all weekend. We can talk more about the radiation remediation projects. And this is under Nexus Environmental Corporation, which the projects for the advanced radiation remediation has been approved through The Hague, through the World Court, because we've got to get the planet turned around. So this is some of my most important work. Remember, my mother was doing fission, working on the bomb. I rebelled, and I did fusion. How do we heal it all? Okay. And so I was acutely, literally inside out aware of all the effects of radiation. I was severely hypothyroid. My normal temperature was 96, okay? If it was 98.6, that was a major fever for me, because I was so severely hypothyroid, so we had a lot to reverse. But anyway, in the proposals and with our NASA physicists, the EE system is a major part of the advanced radiation remediation clinics. That's my technology. It would be the cornerstone healing modality used to remediate radiation. And we'll be treating the radiation poisoning and the other health issues. Initially want to start with the Navy guys that were on the USS Reagan, because they're dropping like flies. Of course, the cancer rates are accelerating. You've got the equivalent right now in just being in California, the West Coast, probably about 4 chest x-rays a day, something like that. So, and everybody knows radiation causes cancer, right? What's the cancer rates doing? Diabetes rates, the hypothyroidism. The last stats I saw was that it was about 58% of babies being born in California, this was like 2-3 years ago, 58% were already hypothyroid at birth. Okay. Could I have a body, somebody that is curious about how the medallions and bracelets work? Could I have somebody come up here? Volunteer your body for science? Yeah, and probably easier to come up that way. And I forgot to bring up, anybody have a Sharpie? And a cell phone. And could I have a man come up too? Somebody big. Oh. I did this because I have to tell you who I've done these tests with. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about the medallions, which create like a 5-foot cocoon around the body to maintain, you want to stay strong no matter what you're exposed to. So this is just kinesiological testing. Like I said, I've been teaching holistic health over 4 decades, more than that. So just hold your arm out straight and push up, just basic strength level. Feel how that is. Okay, where is that? Okay, there's that. And the Sharpie's over there. Okay, now let's take that cell phone and put it to your head like you're talking to on it. Okay, push up. Push up. It literally collapses the blood crystals. It collapses, it creates distortion, disturbance. That's how, and that's how that works. But all we're going to do is let's see, take that. We're going to pop this little bracelet on. And the bracelets work. You probably felt that when I popped it on. Yeah, you'll start feeling it going up and down the spine. And do it again. Stronger than where we started, right? Is that cool?
Much, very. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. This is hopeful. I had something like this, but I lost it.
Oh, and I want to test you too, okay? And we'll do this testing with anybody who wants, but I did want to demonstrate. Just hold straight out, push up, strength level. Okay. And let's do, where men put cell phones? Besides your head. Push up. How about, prostate cancer is really rampant, right? But we'll fix it all. Oh, you put it there. Yeah, see, it's not so good. Okay, we're just going to pop that on. Test again. Okay, feel the difference? We want our men to be strong, right? We like male bodies, and we like their prostates. Dr. Joe McCready said there isn't anything better on the planet for prostates than this technology, because it reversed all his issues. He said he hadn't seen anybody where it hadn't. We'll do another quick test. Yeah. You're just going to you can take a whiff of it. It's not going to smell good. But again, toxic fumes. Chemtrails are toxic fumes, etc., right? Pop on a bracelet. These are simple, effective. Okay, you want to try that too? Okay, toxic fumes. Oh, you're really easy for testing. Your body really understands that. Yeah, it means you're still running off some, I'm going to muscle it, I'm going to mental it. It's okay. Okay. There. Feel how that all of a sudden it caught? Yeah. So no matter what we're exposed to, because we are living in a toxic soup. An absolute toxic soup.
Right. And these are where?
Oh, these are in the back room, the agave room. My daughter, Mela, is here. My youngest child is turning 31, so I wish her a happy birthday next month, shortly. Double Leo, so she's in the back. She'll be handling that. Thank you very much. Thanks for letting me share that little piece. We need our DNA. We need to save the genome. And then we get all kinds of miracle stories about these little medallions and bracelets because they work so well. And like I said, Dr. Glenn did excellent testing with them. We'll be doing a lot more testing. Thank you. Okay, remediation. the aerospace engineer wanted to see what happened. The sample sat around the lab, and he tested it again 2 weeks later. He had the before and after charge. This is an interesting product that I love called Cell Food. Maybe some of you are aware of that one. And this is what it looked like. So it's 100% of the time, it's as great a charge or greater. Because it regenerates, repairs itself indefinitely, works with the DNA in substances and with products. Repair of DNA, lengthening of telomeres, Works really good for hair. You can see split ends, kind of like telomere shortening. You want to keep unified fields. Great for hair. Activate the body's own stem cells. What we found in a pilot study in London when I lectured for the Royal Society of Medicine, we found increased mitochondrial activity. This was 9 people tested before and after 1 hour in an 8-unit EE system. Quadrupled mitochondrial activity. That's your power plants of the cells, your ATP production, your energy production. But that would explain your accelerated nerve cell regeneration, things like that. And reduced surface tension of water by 28%. This was a physicist, did certified lab tests. He took a sample into the system, and he did his original sample, but then he did a second sample where he reduced surface tension with magnets. Didn't reduce quite as much as that, but reduced the surface tension with magnets. That only held for like a day. And then the third one, 28% reduction. He tested it in the lab every month for an entire year, and it maintained that 28% reduction. I just saw him, and he told me that 5 years later, he still has that original sample. He tested it again, it still maintained that 28% reduction in surface tension. Means water is superhydrating. It's part of what Glenn was talking about. It's vortex, it's all these different things. So reduced surface tension of water. Now, Glenn Ryan also did water treated in the EE system. Did he share this one? Okay, because I wasn't here when he shared it. Okay, because this is his personal research. And he found a 26% increase in the electrical conductivity of the water. And I found that interesting that he said the healers only, because I'm a master healer, we've charged so many things. This was designed to emulate my work and the transmission of billions of bits of light codes and all that kind of energy. But he said healers could typically only get 10 to 20% increase in that electrical conductivity. So that's phenomenal work. Testing done by Jack Schulman. He is a DoD computer scientist, physicist. Some form of interdimensional or high superscalar energy is being generated. Entire life force is seen to improve in his research. Water, the permeability increased, the surface tension decreased. He said any food or supplements treated would be more absorbable, the cellular absorption. Hydrologist testing that he did found interesting effects to the hydrogen atoms. He said it had all the positive characteristics of heavy hydrogen, or heavy water. Spectrography testing, he found the energy covalent of each and every hydrogen atom was increased, and in personally using it, he said he felt revitalized, refreshed, invigorated, and relaxed. So that's nice research. George Carlo is another person, Dr. George Carlo, have anybody heard of him? He's like a world authority on field effects. Did all the testing with cell phones and cell phone towers and things like that. He still has an office at NIH, and we have a 5-year study with him. But when he came to hear me talk and came into the system, he just says, he continues to say, this is the Holy Grail. So I like that term. Dr. Sabina DeVita wrote the book on electromagnetic pollution, has our technology. She ended up presenting her clinical research on the EE system in Russia with Professor Konstantin Korotkov. No way. Okay, quantifiable results with the bioelectrography. This is before and after. You see that body of light, those emissions, the biophotonics. photonic emissions, and what they had never ever seen anything improve the photonic emissions to health as quickly and rapidly, as improve the human biofield as rapidly as our technology, before and after 1 hour. This one was actually a before and after about 20 minutes in an EE system with Dr. Sabina DeVita and Professor Dr. Tom Loeb. This was a scientist. He said, this is a bunch of hooey BS, walked out and said, I didn't feel anything. This stuff doesn't work. But he walked out, and then he stopped in the hallway and goes, it's gone. And they go, what's gone, Charles? Did you lose your wallet? And he said, no, my tinnitus, the ringing in my ears is gone. So they went back and re-imaged. And you can see the release of that head trauma. He had been mugged as a teenager. He was now in his late 60s, 68. He'd been mugged as a teenager, and they stole his wallet. He'd been hit upside the head, and they stole his wallet. So the information in the field was, did you lose your wallet? Yeah, so that's the release of head trauma. This is part of what's been presented. Do you think there might be improved brain function? This is thermography before somebody who was having sinusitis. Red, orange is inflammation. Sinusitis before and after. This was 2 sessions in an 8-unit system in Sedona, QHM labs. So he was having migraines, but this is why we have improvements with autism and everything. Just like Alzheimer's considered diabetes of the brain, we're seeing a lot of reversals. Improved brain function. This is before and after. This is EEG studies done in Korea when I presented there to deans of all the universities. We have scientists there. Before and after 10 minutes. Greater coherence, like defragmenting a computer. Dr. Nancy White, a top brain mapper, did before and after EEGs in Houston. And it synchronizes right and left brains, surprising amount of normalization. Extraordinarily rapid post-surgical healing is what's been found, but also many people no longer needed their antidepressants after their first session. Results have been, quite frankly, miraculous. Some of Glenn Ryan's work is about the antidepressant effects, improved psychology. This is a personality orientation inventory study that was produced by Dr. Lana Marconi, and found 95 people out of 100 would experience being more present and being more loving, and these different things. So it's great research. Decreased inflammation and paralysis. This gentleman, Keith was his name, had total paralysis from Parkinson's, had no use of his hand for over a year, no use of paralysis of his leg. They went in to get him after 2 hours, and he was going like this and crying. And he had regained full function. After the first time he didn't need his walker, the second time in he could stand on the leg that was paralyzed, the third time he could jump on it. His wife thanked me for having her husband back. This is a woman diagnosed with bronchitis before and after 1 hour in the system. Cool, right? You see the bronchitis. This also explains why in Hawaii we have a gentleman that's been 8.5 years. He was diagnosed with mesothelioma, sent home to die by Mayo Clinic, had all the tests run. They said there was nothing more he could do, just put his life in order. And he's now 74, looks like he's in his 50s. It was after the first month and a half, 2 months, he went back to work. And before that, he was on oxygen, could not lay down because the lungs would fill with fluid, et cetera. He wasn't around. But this is the effects. Blood is cleansed. Obviously, there's effects going on. This is from a study of 36 people. You see the increased oxygenation. This is actually heavy candida or fungal. That was fungal load, heavy fungal load. And after 1 hour, everything's free-flowing. And from the hypoxia, you've got the oxygenation, carrying the oxygen to every organ in the body. This bottom one is Parkinson's before and after. We've seen a lot with Parkinson's. Another one of the researchers, Dr. Carol Bergeron, found 100% improvement in the blood, 100% of the cases. She was doing a 4-unit system for motor neuron and ALS. This is sickle cell before, clear sickle cell case of a little boy from Haiti. And this is the same little boy's blood after 45 minutes. He's never had another attack or episode. and with FDA tests for cellular absorption rates, which had never in the history of the test ever had improved numbers, 100% of people showed documented improvement after 1 hour in the EE system. So enhanced insulin absorption may be a part of that. So improves immune function, cell membrane potential, we already talked about this, neuronal transmission velocity, skin renewal, organ renewal, hydrobifurcation, hydration, oxygenation. We found in people that is balancing, trying to bring the pH, that active hydrogen, your hydrogen potential, the power of hydrogen, balancing the pH in all the systems, repair of hydrogen bonds. Okay, clinical results. This is Dr. Victor Marcial Vega, and top 1% of credentials of MDs, oncologists, who presented his research on our technology, 132 patient clinical study, presented it for the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, also presented it for the Radiation Oncology Committee meeting because it reduced the side effects of cancer and treatments, reduced the pain in stage 4 metastasized cancer so effectively. They'd never seen anything that did that, and he is actually in the top 1% of credentials of doctors, so he presented it. John Hopkins trained doc. But he said, I can't say this stuff. Whoops, we go back to what I can't say and what he said. Whoops, what's it doing? How do we, okay, fix that. Okay, easier meditation, stress reduction, increased learning. Some reported complete healing of chronic conditions after a half hour. The other one was back. Others have been healed of blindness. He had somebody 100% blind from detached retinas and cataracts, had full vision, was driving a car after a little over 2 months. Diabetes, trauma, cataracts, and stress, from which, and it's any and all healing can occur. Some reported complete healings. 85 to 90% experienced a deep sense of love, relaxation, tingling, increased libido. Most of our systems are in private homes around the bed. Circulation's perfect, the glandular function, the hormones all go perfect. It's like sleeping in heaven, lucid dreaming. Everything works better, peak performance. He came out feeling very happy. He said that had never happened. How many people come out of a cancer clinic, an oncology office, feeling happy? It's like, huh. It's an antidepressant effect. It's like you have all the energy, but it's a natural high. It's oxygenating the brain, and it's opening up all these neural pathways. And we also call it Scalar E, like ecstasy, ecstatic states. Okay. And it has been used for like that, 0 point. Anyway, back to the clinicals rather than the other applications, the side effects. Clinical case studies, Dr. Greg Gerber, Chief of Internal Medicine, Houston Memorial Hospital System. The one I want to focus on here, oncology, did all these different things. Spinal cord injury, he had somebody with a severed spinal cord, a sports injury that had full function a little over 2 months using the EE system. And he talks about that, you can pull it up on YouTube. It's not on our website. We can't make those claims, you know that. So anyway, one of his studies was end-stage renal failure. The gentleman been on dialysis 4 years, started producing urine. Hadn't peed 4 years. He started producing urine after the third 1 hour session. Heart ejection fraction went from 11%, 43%, 70%. So the heart ejection fraction, the heart's ability to pump the blood. Blood glucose. He had uncontrollable blood sugar and blood pressures. Those all normalized. Relief of the angina. He dropped 60 plus pounds. They took him off all the drugs. He regained taste, smell, and vision because he had retinal neuropathy and was legally blind. He regained his vision. He went from cardiac cripple to community ambulator. Used an 8-unit system. Twice a week, so 4 hours a week, 2 hours twice a week when he could get in. These are some of the things, we love miracles. Another clinical results, Professor Terry Shintani has had our technology, University of Hawaii Med School for 8.5 years, like I mentioned. Dr. Ian Adams was scheduled, they wanted to do open heart surgery. Anyway, she was flying to Oahu from Maui to use Dr. Shintani's clinical system, and it reversed all that. And when she got her own system in 1 week, she goes, I just have so much energy. I'm at the track at 4 a.m., and I'm running 100 meters in 22 seconds. I clocked her. 100 meters, that's Olympic level. This is crazy, peak performance. We do have a number of athletes now using it. Senator Kaka in Hawaii uses it and loves it. He just thanked me again. I was just at a program for Senator Kaka, and thanked me for creating the technology. He uses it religiously, as do a number of, we have 4 governors, and 1 senator in Hawaii using it. Okay, this is autism seizure disorder. We've seen a lot with autism, okay. But this is published in the Journal of Neurology Research. There was a vaccine-damaged girl who was having 8 to 10 grand mal seizures every single day. She had her first seizure-free day ever after a third 1-hour session in the EES system. That's a whole study that you can read. It's a great study. Okay. And we published it. Now, this is one of my personal people that Dr. Shintani has also met, a U.S. Marine Recon general. He's like legendary, amazing guy. This is how he looked when he was brought to me. He was carried in by militaries, carried in by big guys. He had had 3 strokes, third-degree burns. The VA had sent him home to die. He was carried in. That's what he looked like. This is him 10 days later. They brought him 4 hours a day. You see, it's around, this is a 12-unit system that is around the bed. There's a 12-unit system back here. And he was just with us again not too long ago. He now walks with just a cane. Yeah, amazing stories with him. We want this in for all the veterans. We're doing a lot with veterans. I could go on and on about the VA projects and veterans. But 1,100 wellness centers are planned for veterans. So everybody visualize that, take a deep breath, because they come back so wounded, and we can do gymnasiums of people. Huge centers, continually 24/7 for the family. And lots we can talk about, Agent Orange, etc. Perfect. Okay. I was asked to head up the Symposium on Healthy Aging at the first International Care Congress in Istanbul, Turkey. It was the heads of 60 nations. It was the prime ministers, ministers of health of 60 countries. And Dr. Alex Kalechi of the World Health Organization was the keynote. And he stood up, and I was there when I heard him addressing. These were the prime ministers, presidents, ministers of health, top scientists of 60 different nations addressing the issues of population aging. We were going over all the stats, all the stuff of populations aging, and what we're looking at as populations for countries and the stats. Dr. Alex Kalechi stood up, he said this too, but he stood up and said, the disease model, the medical model, the pharmaceutical model is not working. Duh. Nobody's been drugged to health yet. He said, we have to create new models. In Turkey, they are building cities of health. That's probably why we've been attacking all that area. I don't know. I haven't been able to go back there lately. They want me to come back. I was given an award at that for our technology. Like I talked about Dr. Bob Del Monte. And he used it, he didn't get to look like that. He's our poster child of anti-aging medicine. Didn't get to look like that by eating Spam musubi, drinking sodas, or eating at junk in the box. He had learned to meditate. He was taught by Tibetan monks. And he found that you could go to a deeper meditational state than a Tibetan monk. Again, the research repeatedly. There's a 350-page study, peer-reviewed study done with Holos University on the effects of the technology on meditation. So when you go in the room, meditate on the body you'd like to have. We have the energy to create. We want to give you the energy to change your mind, to change your diet, to change your life, to make more intelligent choices for a whole planet, and have the energy to heal the whole world, please, now. There's a lot to turn around fast. What if you could reverse aging while you sleep, like Dr. Bob? You go in and take your ultimate power nap. It's like plugging into that cosmic light socket. We have it here. We have our new home model. That's not the clinical model exactly, but it's working. Everybody asked us to create a smaller version that didn't need to be professionally installed. But best is having it around the bed. It's like sleeping in heaven. I met Professor Mark Seifer. He came to my talk, and he was shaking, and as he's giving me my book, this is on the East Coast, in Rhode Island, actually, I think I was lecturing, and you see him in the system, and he was just shaking. I'm going, oh dear, does he have Parkinson's? No, he said, I understood every single thing you talked about, and you blew my mind in over 100,000 ways, and that's what he had written in the book. So I love this book on Nikola Tesla. I wanted to bring it back to, we love this. So we want to blow your minds, because you have to be totally out of your mind to do true healing. The future of health caring is in our hands. You have the energy, you have the power. Aloha, waves of infinite energy flowing out to touch the hearts of all beings, to feel more love, to be aligned by that light, with that light, and as that light, and highest power of love here on earth as is in heaven, through you now. And that's applied integrated biophysics. The only thing beyond love is more fully shared love, so you must share your knowledge and your gifts and share the energy. We need every healer like on steroids. We got a lot to turn around, so get your kahunas, and all that in the system. Okay. We need you turned on. Everybody wants to be turned on, right? As cell by cell. I'm still blonde, by the way. Okay, I am very excited about the collaboration with Clarity, which is about bringing improved epigenetic and nutrigenomic expression to the world, getting this charge out to the people all around the world. And people have been asking us for years, couldn't we create something that could be where they could just go online and get it? Well, it's hard to get those phase conjugate wave pairs all in. Yeah. How do you broadcast that? But anyway, this is a collaboration with our next speaker, so I'm loving to have here Chris Neville, who's here from Australia. He's an amazing, brilliant researcher and working with biophotonics. And it's a perfect collaboration and formulations for epigenetic expression for reducing inflammation through the whole body. And how do we bring that to the world? And you see the 8, Clarity, that's that infinity wave, right? That torsion field. Clarity, we could all use more clarity. And Calibrate. Amazing. I love this product. I've been a formulator. I am not interested in anything that doesn't support true best and highest expression. When I'm testing, I want something that supports best and highest. This is easy, elegant. And, the children's version is amazing. We've got to get the energy to the children to turn this thing around. And the Calibrate. And the Circulate, and he'll talk about that. And Celebrate is good for the skin. And so Chris Neville will be talking next. We love miracles, and that's what we want to share with you. We need lots of miracles on this planet. So massive, miraculous blessings to each and every one of you. You take the energy and share it. We love miracles. This is Father Ernie. He knew the general at the Vatican. The general was the head of security for Pope John Paul. This was Pope John Paul's chief protege for 5 years at the Vatican. And he's also second in command of the Franciscan order. He had witnessed 9 miracles with the medallions before I met him. And so that's what you see him there with, is his EE medallion. And see, it's a tiger's eye medallion to match his habit. So you have to match your wardrobe. Now, white ones, like the one I'm wearing, the Resonate, went to the Vatican. Okay. but he has all kinds of miracles in Assisi with them wearing the... So we love Father Ernie, and Father Ernie and the General re-met at our house fairly recently when we did the launch of the Optimum Medical Institute in Las Vegas. So that's our information. Infinite waves of aloha. Keep breathing. No matter what happens, keep breathing.
Thank you very much.